Right, I'm down at Great Linford today. Been out at work this morning with Garth Ethelson, visiting a few shops, and timed the run perfectly to pop down to Pines Lake for a night, and I've got all day tomorrow. Now, I've fished the venue a couple of times, both this year, both when it's been bitterly cold, once in January, I think the other one just crept into March, and had some really good results. I've had 8 fish out now, 3 of them been over £20, absolutely belting commons up to about 24. Now I know the lake, for the size of it, it's not massive, it's probably only an acre and a half in size, but it holds a few real belters of fish, mirrors and commons. And I just felt, given there's not many people fishing at the moment, that hopefully I could pop back down again. Like I say, I've got 24 hours to play with and hopefully nick a couple. Now I've popped into peg 1, it's not a swim I've actually fished before, but I think they get in here at night. When I was picking off my fish last week or week before last, I was fishing almost the entrance to this little bay that I'm in, but I think it's going to hold them for the night, so I've dropped in here for now, see how we get on, but almost definitely I'll be moving around the lake in the morning at some point. Now there's a couple of rules you have to stick to on the lakes. You're not actually allowed to, I can't use my favoured mainline boilie. Just one of the rules I have on the lake, and I'm not one to break the rules. You've got, whatever's in front of you, that's what you've got to do. So at the moment, I'm just fishing. I've plopped a couple of singles out. I was fishing chods last week and it worked, so I've plopped a couple of chods out just on the far margin. It's not very far, as you can see, it's probably only 25 yards, but you can get up real tight, and it's a real nice depth. Probably, I've not put a marker float out, I've just gone with the rod. It's probably about 6 foot, plenty deep enough for them to hide in. A couple of pink ones on, because again, they were doing the damage a couple of weeks ago. We'll see how it goes. We'll see what the night brings. It looks good for it at the moment. I'm feeling confident. It looks like there's every chance of nicking one before bed, It's been a bit of a bitterly cold day. It's been 4 degrees, thick fog, but now the sun's come out, burnt all the fog away, and I wouldn't be surprised if one rips off in a minute. Fingers crossed, I'll have one to show you. As you can see, we're starting to lose the light now. It's a beautiful sunset just occurring, but I did mention earlier, I really think they come in here at night. And in order to make the most of it, obviously I've got some rigs tied up, so if I do catch a fish in the night, I'll get a fresh one on straight away to get the rod back in. But most importantly, I know where I've cast now. I want to know in the middle of the night I can put my hook bait on exactly the same spot again. So you've already seen me do a bit with the distance sticks, so that's in case this falls off. Bit of marker elastic. Cut yourself off a decent length. It's much easier to use if you've got plenty to play with. Then all you do, you basically tying a grinner knot is I've found the best way to do it. You almost tie this into a grinner knot around your line. So hold it parallel, create a loop like so, and then you're simply going through the loop. I go through 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now elastic's no different to any other line. Give it a good moisten up before you tighten it down, just to ensure you don't damage your line or the elastic. And as you pull it down, pull it nice and tight. It's not going to do any damage. As you can see, you get a nice neat little knot. I'll cut it down. Doesn't have to be cut down too much. It's nice and supple, so it'll run through your rings nicely when I get a bite, not if. There you go. So I now know, my line's in my clip now from where I've walked out on the distance sticks, and I know that in the middle of the night I can just cast somewhere else on the lake, so nowhere near where I'm fishing. Simply get this to sit this distance from my butt ring, clip it back up, fresh rig, back on the money. Happy days. Well, very disappointing night. Stayed up quite late, see if I can hear anything. Thick fog came down really early, and by 8 o'clock everything was damp and, as I say, really thick fog. Sat up till about 11:30, midnight, didn't hear anything, nothing at all, nothing to go on. And even though I only fished singles, I do really believe if they'd have been in here, I'd have caught maybe one, like I was really confident, one or two. I have noticed this morning, down to my right, the coots have been constantly diving and coming up with bait, so someone else has been in here, put a bit of bait out, and if the coots are still feeding on it, it's quite obvious, put 2 and 2 together means the carp haven't been here. Rather than just sit here for the day, as much I think they could turn up, it's quite a small lake. I'm going to move halfway around the lake, I can see the whole lake then, see everything that's going on. There was a guy that fished there last night, and whilst he didn't catch anything, he did have a couple of liners, so it just shows that perhaps the carp were just pushed off the back of what is one of the most popular swims on the lake. We'll try a few different things. I've already had a little mooch about and I've put a little bit of crumbed up pellet and bits and pieces in the margin, see if I can attempt something that way. Fingers crossed, really. I was expectant. I still think we can nick one. The last time I fished it, I had bites in the day, so all's not lost, don't get me wrong, but I think I've got to do something to make it happen. I think if I sat here all day, there's a very, very real chance of not catching anything, and we don't want that, do we? Right, here you go, the rig of choice. As I mentioned, I'm only fishing singles today, trying to nick a bite, not really creating a feeding situation. I haven't managed to locate the fish yet. I've now seen one show. This is where this sort of rig comes into its own. I know there's a little bit of low-lying weed on the bottom. There's no heavy weed, there's no snags. So if you've got a rig that you can cast anywhere, and regardless of the drop that you get, be it soft, hard, I'm presenting a rig. It's the naked chod rig, of course. Talk you through the mechanics before I go on to the components of it. As you can see, the rig is allowed to sort of free run on my main line, so there's nothing conspicuous about it. It all blends in naturally on the bottom. During the flight, I've got a very light lead on, just 1.5 ounces. That's going to fly through the air, and what will naturally happen is the rig is going to get forced back to the back bead, and once the lead hits bottom, this slowly sinks down. Now that's the important bit. I've got a very, very buoyant pop-up on there, and it's balanced with a small piece of putty that's wrapped around the crimp. It's important that it sinks slowly. Like I said, there's low-lying weed. I don't want it to plummet through and risk burying because it sort of defeats the object of what I'm trying to achieve. So test it in the margins, and if you're not happy, if it's sinking too quick, just trim a bit of putty off. It's really, really simple to do. And then once in the water, it's sitting there nicely, everything's balanced on top of the weed, carp comes along, they're inquisitive creatures, and hopefully it's just going to pick it up and hopefully thinks it's going to grab itself a free meal. Onto the components. As you can see there, as I mentioned, I've crimped the mouth trap there. It's the 25-pound mouth trap. The small crimp's absolutely perfect for it. You will see on the packaging that we actually say, you shouldn't really put a loop in it, but on the testing that I've done, I've obviously never had it slip. It's never cost me to lose a fish, and the benefits far outweigh the negatives. The loop makes the rig far more aggressive. Whatever angle the carp comes in from, whether it's in front of the hook, behind the hook, it's going to turn almost instantly and penetrate that bottom lip, and that's obviously what we're trying to achieve. Up at the top end, I've got a nice big D there, so as it's going to sit like that in the water, as soon as the carp takes it, it's going to try to eject it as it naturally would do, and that big bit of movement there allows the separation. Onto the special bit. It's a new hook I've been testing for a little while. It's sort of Tom Dove's brainchild, based on the crank hook that's already been very, very popular, but this has got an outturned eye, making it perfect for a chod style presentation. I've got to say, since I've been using it, I've only lost one fish on the hook, but more importantly, the ones that I've landed have been absolutely nailed. Normally I've found with the chod rig, you tend to hook them just in the bottom lip, but in this instance, I'm hooking them sort of the length of the rig back, which leads me to believe that as soon as they're picking it up, maybe due to the offset point in the hook, that it's finding a fleshy part straight away and taking hold. Can't rate highly, can't speak highly enough about it. But positively, we've not had a fish yet. I've had a weird occurrence on one rod where the sort of bobbin pulled up tight and picked up, there was nothing there. And since then I've had one show, which I'm now about to cast this rig onto it. So hopefully we really are going to get one for the cameras. Well, there we go, persistence pays off. Did the night last night, no joy. Moved this morning, Baited up a few spots whilst I was walking round, and then right towards the end of the trip, as you can tell, found a few feeding right in the edge. To be fair, didn't see this particular fish. He's one of the smaller ones. 13¼ pounder he goes, but I'm absolutely chuffed to have caught it. I could have easily just sat behind my rods doing nothing, but like I said, I do like to try and make something happen where possible. There's probably a little tip for you. Don't ignore the margins. If nothing's happening, perhaps bait up a few little spots, and you might catch one like him as well. Well, just packing away. If you can see behind you, I don't get the chance, the swim's in complete disarray. And the rod has sort of been out in the zone pretty much for most of the day. It's just absolutely ramped off. Feels like quite a small fish, but there's no better way to pack a rod away, is there? Let's keep him coming. Just sat to James, I was up there just now. Thought I was away, I had one of my alarms absolutely ripping off. Turned around, there's a couple of swans pestering about. So it's only just been flicked back out due to that. And we have seen a little bit more active. There's been a few milling about on the surface this afternoon. And after stalking that one out a little while ago, I thought I'd have a slow pack down, flick the rods back out. Oh, and I can see it's a mirror. Do you know what? I know it's not big, but it's the first mirror I've ever hooked in here. Oh, he looks beautiful. What a nice way to finish. Oh, he's a perler. Like I said, not the biggest fish, but look at him. It's 2 bites on the squid goo, they can't resist it. Look at him. Happy days. First mirror and he's a perler. Well, there we go. We stalked the little one out earlier. What a perfect way to finish. Come back to the swim. Obviously, once catching that fish out of the edge earlier really disturbed it. There was no chance of another bite. So I thought we'd have the slow pack down. I flicked another rod back out, just another single to the area that, kind of towards the area that I fished last night. And then out of the blue, just had an absolute one-toner. What a belting carp to finish it off with. It's absolutely stunning. As I said there as well, this is, I think, my 10th fish out of the lake and my first mirror. Not a bad way to open the account, is it?